Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Melanin Muses Podcast, where we will talk about the three components of self-compassion, how to treat ourselves with grace and kindness like we would a good friend, and how to identify your own needs in the present moment with our guest muse, Stephanie Butler.
Stephanie is a life coach, a creative, an author, and registered social service worker who has been in the field for over 25 years. She has been regarded as an open-minded and loving person who believes the answers are within each of us and has discovered that often all we need is supportive help to examine situations from different angles, ask questions, and challenge one's views to help us heal.
Through self-care, her spiritual practice, self-compassion, and seeing her own coach regularly, Stephanie is able to stay grounded within herself and provide a safe space for others to confide in and face their lives with wholehearted courage. She has also created something called the Magical Weekly Planner, a planner that helps keep you on track, but also assists you in making time to create flow in your life.
And with that said, let's get started, y'all.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hi.
So good to be here.
We're happy to have you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie, tell us about you.
All right. Well, I will try to keep it short and sweet, the best of my ability. For me, this has been a growth and evolution journey from the beginning of my teenage years, and I'm very grateful for everything that I've been through to get me to this point, absolutely, but it was not an easy road. um, so for myself, in the present moment, currently I am, like you said, a life coach. I work in the mental health field, helping others. And basically for me, I kind of went through those stumbling blocks in my life to bring me here. And so I would say it's been over 20 years of me actually putting myself first in my life for a change, and to also look at how I treat myself and how I show up for others in my life. So it was about probably a good 20 years ago. Actually, this week, 20 years ago, I made a huge decision in my life, and that was I chose abstinence, sobriety for myself. And so prior to that, I was living a pretty intense life, full full dive right into addictions. And so for me, it was probably the last 4 or 5 years of that lifestyle, that illness that I was in. And so it brought me to this place where I knew I needed to get help. And so I asked for that help, which was the hardest thing I've ever done. But the best decision of my entire life, because I was dying. I was basically living in hell on earth is how I describe it. There's no other way. If you know, you know. And so for me, I reached out for help, and through that help, I received a lot of support from folks like myself. And that's why it was a little bit difficult, because I've been in the social service work field for over 25 years, and I'm supposed to help people. I'm not supposed to ask for the help, right? Was my perspective. And so then I started to access different resources. And through those resources, I found meditation, mindfulness, I found self-compassion, I found all of these amazing tools to incorporate into my life. And, you know, that's why I will talk about any of those topics to anyone who will listen, because it has changed my life. I came from a place where I I completely could not stand the sight of my own self in the mirror. The self-hatred, the self-loathing that I had was so intense that, I probably for about a year and a half, actually did not look in the mirror. I might have got a glimpse, brushing my teeth, whatever, but the lights didn't need to be on in that bathroom. Full length mirrors, what was that? Didn't need to look in them. I just could not stand myself. And so that's part of addiction, and that's, part of what I went through. And slowly but surely, I am an absolutely different person. I've done a 180, and that was through work and continued work. As you mentioned before, I continue to work with a coach and work on myself. And, you know, I have now come to realize that my darkest days have become my greatest assets. So it's never a coincidence when someone enters my life in the coaching field or in the mental health field, that they have gone through circumstances that I can relate to on a personal level. And I know how to be empathetic and also kind of really get where they are at some points. And so now I use my life experience to help others who are going through addiction and continue to be having addictions, but just choosing to abstain. And I'm a creative person. I've always been creative, and so that I see as a huge outlet for myself. It speaks to my soul. It reminds me of who I am when I am creative. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell, for a very condensed version. Yeah.
Like, yeah, would you say, I guess it's safe to say that uh, your past is your motivation for your professions right now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I guess what came first? Was it the social work? Is that what you mentioned before?
Yeah, so I was in social work, and I worked with folks, but I just didn't get it because I was so sick myself in my own addiction that I didn't even realize that I was completely not understanding, because I was in full denial of my own illness. So yeah, much better in my job now and much more compassionate and understanding of where folks can find themselves. Yeah.
I think that is what's beautiful about social work because, like you said, some of the hardest things you can do is legit ask for help. And I feel like what better place to ask for help than in that actual field where you're helping everyone as much as you can
Yeah.
and stuff. So, and I actually have to commend you for actually being on the straightened path for 25 years and actually wanting to help people and help them overcome their challenges, their dragons, if you will. And yes, just kudos to you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
So what do you write? You said you're an author and you're a creative. So what's more about that? Yes.
So I've written in a couple of books, a couple of chapters. So the first one was Dear Stress, I'm Breaking Up with You, was the title, which I love. Um, so talked a little bit about my life experience and just how to stay grounded, and also looking at time management. I used to be a professional organizer one time ago, and so I kind of focused on that. And then a couple of years later, I wrote in Dear Time, Are You on My Side? So it was a series of the Dear series. And there I spoke more about my recovery journey and really talking about goals and using your time wisely, and how to do that in a way that your goals are matching your values. Yeah.
What I love that you said, like, that your goals match your values, because I feel like in many cases, especially with the new year, the time of the new year, people are like, well, make goals, but they're not saying make it specific to something you believe in. It's just like, make a goal, feel productive. You have to be productive, but be specific, but not, does it align with you? Not
Yes.
does it just align generally with what the world's telling you to do? So I think that's a very important thing that you specify, just make sure it aligns with your values and doesn't go against the core of who you are. Like, do you find that within that world of like your own personal journey and personal growth, you found like so many mixed messages within that realm that it made it a little bit difficult to find your way? Or did you feel like you had a pretty good guiding light to help you through that?
I think it was a bit of both. So a lot of mixed messages, but a lot of folks that just continue to be that example through my life. And also, I really feel that my intuition has guided me along the way. That I met the right people at the right time. When you're ready, the teacher appears. Absolutely, I believe in that. And I used to be extremely closed-minded. I'm a little maybe too open-minded. Some people might say a little woohoo and open-minded to a lot of things, but um, I think that me being willing and open has just allowed me to continue to be on that growth and evolution journey, right? So not easy all the time, but folks just seem to appear when I need them. Yeah.
Hey,
And
ask and and you shall receive, man.
Yes.
And you feel like, does this, as you went through this journey, did you see a shift as well, not only with like your professional relationships or professional connections, because you did mention being able to more fully empathize with clients and with people because you've experienced it. Did you see a shift in your interpersonal relationships as well? Like, oh, you started attracting not only better mentors or guides, but also a more genuine and positive people into your life and creating a more healthier circle of people.
Definitely. I am surrounded by folks. It's like my chosen family. You can choose your friends and they become family where um we don't talk about the weather. We don't talk about TV and sports or whatever. We talk about life. We talk about feelings. We talk about, what's going on in our lives. And we get vulnerable. And I've never experienced that in my life. It was just like I had a huge wall up and it was like, you're just not going to get past here. So don't try. And now I'm pretty much an open book, and that's who I attract to my life. People who want a connection with with each other. Yeah.
Do you find it hard? Did you find it hard that you had to sometimes when we have to heal, we have to cut certain people out of our lives? Was it really hard to cut those people out of your lives?
It was and it wasn't, because that I didn't have too many deep connections with folks. It's just we had one thing in common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And that's what I realized. It was like, you know what? There was a few people who absolutely are still in my life because they were not caught up in the scene as bad as I was. But I didn't really connect too deeply, if that makes sense. There were more acquaintances, more of that type of lifestyle. And so when I knew I needed to change who I was hanging out with, it was not as difficult as it could have been. That's for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. I guess another question: when we go as strong for as long as we can, sometimes we falter, sometimes we slip, sometimes we mess up. What's your inspiration to keep going and to get back on your path and to remind yourself, hey, this is going to be for the best. This is going to be for the long term. This is for your goals, and this is to help other people. What's your inspiration for that?
It's definitely to help other people, for sure. And for me, it's always been a spiritual path. So I believe I do part of the work, but I am a full believer that I am not what keeps me sober. So I believe in deepening that connection best I can on a daily basis. And from that, I've never been more high in my entire life from that. And to put it that way. And for me, I want to be able to let other folks know there's a way out. There is a way out. You don't have to live that way anymore, as much as it's hard to believe and you can't picture living a different lifestyle. It is possible.
I love that.
Actually,
The concept
yeah.
of being like, you can be high on life. And
Absolutely.
it's such a different feeling in terms of, do you feel like addiction's also connected to like depression and what can lead to that, and anxiety and low self-worth and low self-esteem and things along that terms?
Definitely. I still struggle with depression and anxiety. Like, I think that's maybe why I was medicating for all those years, if you want to call it medicating or whatever. Um, yeah. And I've just found tools that help me to live the way that I live. And yeah, I'm gonna have some down days. Absolutely, we all do, but it's not a deep cycle of depression. And the anxiety, yeah, it's there, but it's more of a low grade now. It's not so intensive in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the self-esteem and low self-worth, definitely fight that battle every day, because that inner ego is telling me constantly, you're just not good enough or this or that. I don't buy into that storyline anymore, but I definitely could hear it now and then.
Definitely understand that. It's like a regular battle on the daily of fighting yourself. And I think because I was also diagnosed with like depression and anxiety, so I get that part of the constant when you're trying to uh recreate a new life, start like book reference, be the author of a new life and just write a new chapter. Ha. I like punny jokes, but when seriousness, but when you start doing that, it's almost like you're constantly in a way of talking yourself down, talking yourself off that ledge, and like that negative thought will pop in your head, and then you're like, nope, 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 we're not doing that anymore. I thought we had a conversation about this. Go back, go sit down somewhere. We're not having that today. And it can be tiring. It can be very mentally exhausting. It could just be very frustrating. It could be very emotional. But I would love to know your experience with it. The moment you start seeing progress, and like you don't hear that voice as often, or the chosen family that you made, you start recognizing like their good vibes start rubbing off on you, and you just start feeling genuinely happy. You feel like, oh, actually start feeling that love rather than that numbness of, oh, I don't deserve that. It's like, oh my God, I deserve this. I like these people. They like me too. Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful feeling. And that when you start feeling that shift in not only your mind but in your heart and your soul, it's just such a surreal experience. Like, is that something that you felt as well?
Absolutely. And it is something that I do not take for granted ever, because, my entire life till I was 28 years old, I numbed myself any which way I could. And then for about 5 years of, not numbing through alcohol or drugs, I was still suppressing everything because I was terrified to feel. And now, yes, I need to feel the opposites of each feeling, definitely, to have that understanding of what joy and depression mean. I need to have the two of them, but I am definitely living more in the joy, the gratitude, the just having that creativity and imagination running wild. And I wouldn't you know change that for anything. And uh, emotions can still scare me once in a while, absolutely. But, I remember watching a TED Talk, and it's literally 90 seconds to feel an emotion from beginning to end. It takes 90 seconds. And then after that, you're usually on to the next thought, the next feeling, or the next something. And I'm like, 90 seconds, I can do this. And sometimes it's just talking myself through that. Yeah.
But I think it's actually good to do that. I think when we have a bad thought like that, or any kind of bad thought that gets in our head, we try to repress it immediately, or we try to just ignore it and go, no, this isn't going to work. And what I was told like quite literally what you just said is you have to feel through it. But that doesn't mean wallow in it. That doesn't mean just sit there on it. No, do something about it. Why am I feeling this way? Well, what made me feel this way? Well, can I pinpoint when it actually started? Can I pinpoint when I started to feel like this? Okay, well, what could I do to, I'm not going to say not make myself feel like this anymore, but how can I perceive this differently and cope with it and learn to live with it to the point where it may eventually go away, or or the way I perceive it can change this actual thought. Can I do anything about it? And there's actually a ton of things you can actually do about it. And when you start to actually do one thing, you then realize, oh my God, there's like 5 more things I can do. Oh my God, there's 10 more things I can do. And you can even do that on your own, finding that out on your own. Now, it's easier when you actually have a group to talk to who actually feels what you're feeling, or is sympathetic enough to actually see you, hear you, and acknowledge you. But definitely having that talk with yourself to actually like try to figure out, why are you feeling this way and what can we do to make it better, is I don't think people realize how helpful that really is, to actually genuinely have that talk with yourself. It's very scary. You might cry, you might have a tantrum, you might start throwing stuff, but to actually face that feeling head on and not bury it, I think would help anyone in the long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
And self-compassion, when we get to that, I mean, that, changed my world.
Yes. And that is a perfect moment to take a pause, take a moment. We are just going to take a quick ad break. Be right back, guys.
All right, guys, we are back with part 2 of this episode, and we talked about a lot of self-help, but now we're going to take a segue and talk about the 3 components of self-compassion. Stephanie, please explain.
Yes, self-compassion. So the 3 components are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Yes.
All right. So self-kindness.
So self-kindness, the best exercise that I have found is, if you find yourself in a situation that maybe you're getting down on yourself or you're not sure how to react, you can ask yourself, if my friend, my best friend, my good friend was in this situation, what would I say to them? Because we always sometimes have this different standard for ourselves than others, right? And so when we can kind of take that step back and look at the situation from, how would I comfort a friend in this situation? What would I say? It's going to be a whole lot different than what you would be saying to yourself. And so that teaches us some self-kindness. And it takes practice, because I don't know about you, but I shared a little bit about, I was pretty hard on myself, right? And then to switch that dialogue, that inner dialogue, is not the easiest. So this tool, what would I say to my friend? Dynamite. It helps me out every time. Yeah.
It's actually really interesting that you say that because it is hard to not talk down on yourself. And I think it has a lot to do with how a habit forms after 20 days. Talking down to yourself is a bad habit. The longer you do it, the harder it is to get out of it. And we have to unlearn that, and then switch it with self-kindness, talking good about yourself. What'd you do that was good today? You look great today. Look yourself in the mirror and go, I love you, dude. I love you. And it's not easy. Hell, I still do it all the time. But I am getting better with stopping myself, going, what are you talking about? You don't believe that. And you don't believe that. You love yourself. Come on, man. So yes, that is, and I already know for a fact, if I would ever catch any of my friends talking bad about themselves or them going through something, I'm gonna get a little intense, but I am gonna sit you down and look you into the windows of your soul and go, you stop it. Talk to me. Let's figure this out. And at the end of it, I love you. I'll let you know that I love you again. We're going to have a long hug about this. Maybe a cry or two, but it's going to be okay. And so I think that's a very, very good lesson. And I'm actually going to use that now.
Awesome.
Yes. And also, I think that ties into the concept that I think society teaches us to treat our friends well. Like, when we're kids, like, be nice to your friends, say nice things, don't treat other people how you want yourself to be treated. But you don't follow that second part of, well, how do I want to be treated? You follow the part about trying to treat others very kindly, but then you forget to think about how you deserve to be treated, because you want to try to be selfless instead of selfish. But we need to remind ourselves that it's not selfish to want to be treated well. And how can we set an example for how we want others to treat us if we don't show it to ourselves first, if we don't give that demonstration to other people? And that ties into also our sense of self-worth and self-love, to see the person that we see in the mirror, that's our friend too. We're not just friends to other people. We need to be friends to ourselves. And like Quay was saying, like, if you say that stuff to a friend, I don't want to be your enemy. What type of stuff do you say to your enemy? So I think that's just a wonderful and a very powerful reminder to ourselves to be gentle, be kind, and remember, we all deserve respect. We all deserve that basic common courtesy. Be nice to yourself. And so that will transition to the second component of self-compassion. Can you go into that one?
Yeah, so common humanity, it kind of ties into where we have these different standards for ourselves, right? So I'm supposed to, not always perfectionism, but, be close to perfect at everything that I do, right? And then when I don't achieve that, I'm really messed up. There's something critically wrong with me. But common humanity is, you know what? I'm not the first, nor am I going to be the last person to make a mistake. I am not, so many people have done what I've done. If I messed up at work or, tripped and fell or whatever it might be, I'm not the only person. And our brains, our ego can tell us that to make us feel different, to make us feel like we really have messed up when we haven't. And so that puts it into perspective. And it allows us to make it a little bit easier to talk about it to friends and family or colleagues and just say, like, you know what, I think I messed up in that meeting at work. Can I talk to you about it? Instead of hiding this deep, dark, horrible secret, like I'm the only one who's done something like this. No, we all mess up. That's how we learn and grow and move forward, right? So that is the second component. And I get it, because my mind likes to tell me, no, you're the only one who's ever done something like that.
I hope a lot of young people hear this, because I think we all go through this, but I think they're kind of going through that in itself harder than most. You see what they actually have to go through in today's world and what they actually have to worry about. Not only that, what like the tools that they have, like social media, like Instagram, for example, how you're basically comparing your life to people in these accounts where they're going on like extravagant vacations. They're wearing the coolest dresses. They're going to the craziest places. They have all these friends. They're meeting all these celebrities. They're going like to all these crazy countries and stuff. And the kid is sitting there, or the kids plural are sitting back going, why am I not doing that? Why am I not there yet? Why am I not, like, what am I doing wrong? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. And not only that, it's going to be compared to what they're being told, like face to face, of you should already have this figured out. You should already know if you want to go to college or if you just want to go to work immediately. You should already know if you want to have a family. You should know if you want to get married or buy a house or rent a house. What do you want to do? Why isn't your life figured out? And you try to really sit them down and tell them, like, hey, you don't have to have anything figured out, actually. And I'm letting you in on a secret. No one has anything figured out, actually. Everyone goes through this all the time. I try to tell my little cousins that all the time. I'm 26, actually, all soon to be 27, but I don't have anything figured out. I know what I got to do. I know that I have the responsibilities that I got to do, but that's just what becoming an adult. But to the core, no idea. And it's okay to not know. And it's okay to go at your pace of how you want to do, of how you want to do it. And but still, it's very hard to tell them that. And because, how can you tell someone that and expect them to learn it when you yourself, it took you a long time to learn that. No matter what, it's you who has to learn it yourself. So again, great tool. Gonna use that later. Definitely gonna drill it into my little cousin's heads too. Because you're doing too much, kid. You're doing too much.
Gem dropping moments. And so if those are the first two, we need to know more in depth about that last one. Please share.
Yeah, so mindfulness, being in the moment, being grounded right here, right now. Not easy. It sounds so easy to say, but our mind is either, regretting something from the past or replaying it over and, what I could have done differently. Or I'm over in the future going, oh my gosh, maybe that's not going to work out. What if this happens? What if that happens? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And we're never right here. And so the more we practice mindfulness, the more, I guess, grounded we are. And so we're not going to have so many highs and lows, right? In the sense of emotions or feeling out of sorts if a situation comes up, so that I make a mistake. I'm not going to, zoom like that. I'm going to try to get in the moment, ground myself, and then kind of say, okay, what's the situation for real? Like, what is the gravity of this? And then I have some self-kindness. And then I remind myself, okay, I'm not the only one who's made a mistake. Maybe somebody I know has gone through this. Let me look for some resources. Let me talk to them, because I'm being mindful. I'm present in this moment. So I'm not freaking out about, I'm going to get fired or whatever it might be that I'm telling myself. And so that's using the three of them together when we're in some type of situation where we're feeling overwhelmed, right? And so the first thing is to try to get grounded, right, into being in this moment. And the best way is our senses. Use your 5 senses. And I always do this one, which is, where are my feet right now? And I actually say where I'm at, what day it is, what time it is. So then I'm physically right here, right now, and say, what do I need to do for the next 10 to 15 minutes? Right. And so if something just happened and it's like, I need to know an answer, okay, then the answer is the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, I need to figure out plan B. Or it's, okay, you know what? I need to finish this email. I need to do something. I'm not spiraling out of control because I am, not grounded and freaking out about something that might happen, right? Like so many of us do. Yeah.
That was actually really good. That was actually making me get into deep thought of like, wow, actually, yeah, really put yourself in the moment. Put yourself in the moment of what you need to do right now. And if what you need to do is talk to yourself right now, good, do that right now. It actually never even occurred to me to even ask myself, where's your feet right now? Where are you standing? Where are you right now? What day is it? What time is it? What's your emotion that you're feeling currently? Why? All right, well, let's figure it out. Let's figure out why then. Stephanie, I'm going to use all this stuff the moment we're done with the episode. We're going to write it down, and we're going to keep doing that. This is all very, very helpful.
Love it.
I got my Post-it note right here. I was already taking notes. But no, I love that. And thank you for following up, not only with just giving us the definitions of what each of those steps are, but how to actually put that in practice. I think that's very, very helpful for those who are listening to help also implement that and give it a shot into their lives. And since we're talking about mindfulness, actually, what do you think would be the difference or the commonality between meditation versus mindfulness?
Well, meditation is more of, sometimes it can be guided or it could be a mantra. It could be on the sounds or whatever that meditation is. It could be you read a verse and then you meditate on what you just read. Where mindfulness is getting you into this moment. A meditation may do that, but it might also bring a lot of questions. A meditation might bring a lot of questions. It might get you, if you're meditating to the sound of a beach, you might be in Cuba for a little while there, not in this present moment, actually where you are. You're off enjoying that meditation. So there's mindful meditations or there's just guided meditations.
Which kind of meditation do you think would help someone with ADHD? I know for me, when I meditate, because I have ADHD, when I meditate, I actually find it really hard to focus on one thing. I'll think of 20 thoughts in like 10 seconds. And that's why I find it when people are like, just sit there and just home. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I always thought that, well, maybe I could meditate by doing something with my hands and just think about, and just maybe and just have a thought. What's the one thought you want to have with your while you're doing something? So like maybe like arts and crafts or something. Or what I like to do, I actually love to cook. I love to cook all the time, and I'll actually find myself thinking about a thought as I cook, as I do the whole prep work, and I'm like, this is helping. Even though I'm not like sitting still or anything, or I'm not like crisscross applesauce, I'm not having any kind of music play, just me, myself, this food. Do you think that is a good way to have meditation, or do you think there's like a different way to add to that?
That is perfect. When I worked with folks, I always ask them, what did you do as a small child that the whole world disappeared except you in that activity? So for me, it was like a coloring book or drawing. And so I could do that and nothing else existed, right? So that was creative. So fast forward, now you're in your 30s, 40s, what can that look like as an adult? And that is being mindful. That's meditating. You're in the moment. You're expressing self. You're expressing your soul the way you are. So is it through cooking? Is it through gardening? Is it dancing, singing? And also just day-to-day activities, you can be mindful. So you can mindfully eat. You can mindfully walk. If you're old school like me and don't have a dishwasher, you can wash your dishes mindfully. And what it is using all your senses in that moment. And so you're not stuck on one thing. You're kind of like, hey, what am I hearing right now? What, ooh, the bubbles smell so amazing. I can hear some of them popping. I'm looking at my hands, picking up this, like it's describing kind of what you're doing in the moment. And when you're creative, you're kind of not thinking about anything else but what is coming through you, right? So definitely amazing ways to get grounded, to meditate and be mindful.
That really struck home with me when you mentioned, what did you do as a child that made you just space out and ignore the world? Like that's, I think, very, very important for people nowadays, because as we get older, we tend to forget what it's like to see the world through a child's eyes. We tend to say you have to be mature, you have to look a certain way, behave a certain way in order to be considered, quote unquote, an adult or be taken seriously as an adult, when the fact that children can see the world so differently and find joy in the littlest things, like, oh, it's raining outside. Oh, look at the leaves changing color. It's so pretty. Like, it's the fact that they can see all the beauty in the world that we just lose as we get older is something that I think we need to go back and pay attention to. Because for me, similarly to how you said, it was reading. I would sit down and read like 500, 600 page novels in elementary school, and just for 14 hours. I would not move unless I had to, I got super hungry or I had to use the bathroom, but I would just be sitting there reading. Or art as well. That was something that I got lost in, just drawing for hours and writing stories. Same thing with my best friend. She's a writer as well. We would sit in silence in her kitchen for 14 hours, not saying a thing. She would be writing, I would be painting. And it's just being able to have those moments to just be at peace with yourself and enjoy being alone, but not being lonely. And I think that's something that we tend to lose as we get older, unless we actively take part in maintaining that sense of self. And it can be very difficult, very, very difficult to get back into, because that's something that I struggled with for years. And only recently I've been able to get back into my art. Before I couldn't. Like I stopped drawing. I would get an itch, like a physical phantom itch in my hand of, oh, I need to draw. I would doodle something and I'll be fine for a while, but something had blocked that off until I've been able to recently fully immerse myself back into that. And now I'm doing the same thing with reading, getting myself into that. So yeah, that's very, very, very important to look at that. And I think a lot of people will be able to get a lot out of what you said. So thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it. And as we come toward the end of the episode, I'm curious to know more about like your spiritual practice and like helping your clients, as well as your magical weekly planner. Like, tell us about that, Stephanie.
Okay. So my magical weekly planner kind of came out of my own, I guess, needs and what I was practicing on a regular basis and how it continued to shift my perspective. So I am type A personality. I love checklists and writing everything down. I'm old school. I do not put stuff on my phone calendar. I need to see a week at a glance. I need to see it on paper. And when I write something, then I'm going to actually remember it a little bit better. So my planner is you have your week to put in what you're doing, but then there's space for you to remember to write down your intentions for that week, to write down at the end of the week what your lesson or lessons were, moments of gratitude from that week. Also, looking at your creative time. So as we spoke about, being creative. And then, did I say gratitude? And also what you're grateful for. And then self-care. What were your greatest self-care moments? And so this is kind of like looking at masculine and feminine energy, where I'm very masculine in my energy. I want to do, because I like practical stuff and seeing outcomes. But when I'm receiving and I'm in creativity and I'm using my desires, I can receive, right? And so when I'm using my planner in a very masculine way, writing it down and planning different things, I'm helping to be in flow, to be back and ready to receive. And that's changed so much of my life over the past few years. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. So I created this planner. And and there's also a place where every month you can write down what your accomplishments are, great or small, because I think we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate what we're doing, because again, that negative chatter, oh, I should have, like you were talking about earlier, I should have done this. Stop shooting on yourself. Celebrate. What did you do right this month? What did you do? Let's write it all down. And so then you can look at your year. This is the planner here. You can look at your year like month to month. And that's what it is. It's very simple, basic, but it's so helpful to see your whole week at a glance and keeps you on track. So yeah, I hope that answers.
I love that so much.
Simple as
I'm
best.
a stationary nerd. Like, so that just makes me happy inside. I love planners and journals. Like, even though I don't always stick to them, not gonna lie, I like them for the aesthetic value. And that's a whole other issue. But I love planners, and that was beautiful.
Yeah. I love it.
I'm not gonna lie, the planner thing is new for me. I usually would always go with, I'll remember it. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if you do, it's something really, really, really important. and stuff. That's the only thing you're really going to remember. And actually, someone who's not in my life anymore, they're not dead, but we just don't associate each other anymore. She actually did give me a good thing of advice. She goes, "You're always trapped in your head. Write it down. Just write down your thoughts. You're really mad right now. Write down your thoughts. I promise you, in 5 minutes, you're not even going to be mad anymore." And I was stubborn. I'm like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't want to write. I don't want to write in my journal. It's a waste of time. And then I was still mad. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. Yeah, not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes. I'm not even talking about what I was mad about. I'm talking about something that I saw the other day. Like, I'm talking about like, oh, I saw a cardinal on my balcony the other day. It was really cool. I wonder where that cardinal went to. Like, and just something so simple, like writing in your journal, something so simple as having a planner just to show what you're going to do for the week. Something as simple as telling yourself, hey, this week was really hard, but you got through it, dude. You did everything you needed to do. You got all your adulting out of the way. You got to see your friends. You got to communicate. You got to talk about your feelings. And you didn't tell yourself that you're not that person, that you are not, that you can't amount to anything or anything negative like that. And again, simple things like that. Simple is best.
Yes. And like on that note, thank you so much. Like, I think that would be a perfect way to bring this episode to a close. And we really, really appreciate you having you on our episode, Stephanie. And would there be any final thoughts or tips, advice you would like to give those listening today? And where can people find you as well, so they can learn more about what you have to offer?
Yeah, so my website, it's stephaniebutlercoach.com. I'm also stephanie.butler.coach on Instagram. You can check me out there. And my final thought is kind of a little bit to what we alluded to earlier is, we're all just learning as we're going. I've never been a 48-year-old woman on January 3rd, 2023 on this podcast. Never done it before, but did it. Right? So we're all just trying things out. And with the mindfulness, be curious, be excited, interested in what you're presently doing, right? The best that you can. That's my greatest advice. And yeah, I hope to, continue to follow both of you on your journeys on social media. And so glad to have met you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure to meet you as well, Stephanie.
And Quay, on that lovely note, my heart feels so full. What do you have any advice for our listeners?
Everyone, please don't be afraid to ask for help. You cannot go through life alone. You can, but is it going to be bland? Is it going to be hard? And it's going to be so many hardships, and there's going to be regret. And before you know it, you're going to look back and regret not talking to that person, not asking for help, not even reaching out and helping someone. Please, you have to, for yourself, for your life to feel full, you have to be willing to give of yourself and open yourself to newer possibilities. And if you're really going through something and you can't get help where you are, find help in a more positive area. If you can't talk to your parents, talk to your friends. If you can't talk to your friends, talk to your therapist. If you can't talk to your therapist, talk to yourself first. And then figure out what you need. And then once you figure out what you need, go from there. Please, 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 please ask for help.
100%. And again, I really appreciate you coming on, Stephanie. You've shared with us so much. Thank you for being vulnerable with us. Thank you for sharing such amazing advice and tips. And I know that they're going to help a lot of people who are listening to this. And for my final thought of the week, it would be, remember to embrace your inner child. I know many of us have lost access to them or tried to just drown them out. Children should be seen, not heard type of thing that our society tries to put into circulation. But try to reconnect. Have a moment. Think about stuff you used to do. Like Stephanie mentioned earlier, think about stuff you used to enjoy doing as a kid. What made you happy? Did you like dancing, singing? Did you like crafts or tinkering with things? Reading? Whatever it may be. Find a moment, find a day, next day off, whatever. Do it. If you like the little slime kids or you like to play with Play-Doh, get it. Who cares if it says it's for 5-year-olds? At least now you know not to eat it. So find those moments. You're like, oh, well, I used to draw, but I'm not good. No one was ever good at the beginning. It's art. Let me just tell y'all something. Art, and if you're good or not, is all up to interpretation. It's all relative. So as long as you're having fun, as long as you're enjoying yourself in that moment, no matter how quote unquote bad you think you may be dancing or singing, as long as it's bringing you joy in the comfort of your own space, that's all that matters. So that's my challenge to you this week. Find something that used to bring you joy as a kid and give it a shot. Try it. So, and let us know. Let us know what you did if you'd like to share with us. If you have a favorite song that you wanted to sing, let us know. So on that note, everyone,
we also I just want to let everyone know that we don't have any animosity towards people who eat Play-Doh. If you want to eat Play-Doh, eat it. It's fine. I'm not going to judge you.
Don't tell people to eat Play-Doh.
I'm not telling people to eat Play-Doh. I'm just saying if they eat Play-Doh, it's fine, dude. I guess if that's your thing.
Oh, okay, guys. Don't listen to this fool. That'll get you sick. Don't be putting Play-Doh in your mouth. Go sit down. Go. Don't eat. Put the Play-Doh aside. Go play with something else. So you know. Quay, stop being the bad influence. On that note, guys, thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Melanin Muses Podcast.
To hear more, please subscribe and follow our podcast wherever you listen to us. And we would love if you gave us a rating and review so we can ensure that we are bringing you great and valuable content. And we encourage you to share this episode with someone whom you think will get great value out of this episode.
And lastly, be sure to check us out on our Instagram at Melanin Muses Podcast, as well as our official YouTube channel for more content. Like, subscribe, follow, and give us some comments because we want to hear from you. We want to have a conversation because we are family over here and we want to talk to you. So yes, on that note, we shall see you next week. And this is Nikki B signing off.
This is Quay signing off.
Stephanie
Signing off. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Peace.